The air inside the derelict spacecraft was stale, heavy with the scent of rust, old oil, and something far worse, an underlying organic musk that suggested rot and menace. Lieutenant Mara Voss stepped carefully through the corridor, her pulse loud in her ears. The emergency lights flickered red, casting long shadows against the curved, biomechanical walls. The ship had been missing for 9 months. It was a scientific research vessel, the Osiris, last reported orbiting LV-826, a moon long rumored to be cursed after a colony went dark there decades ago. The Osiris had gone silent during an expedition to the surface, and after that, nothing. Mara wasn't here on a rescue mission. That pretense had died the moment she read the classified files buried in the Weyland-Yutani archives. She wasn't supposed to be here at all, but she had a brother on the Osiris. And some things were more important than protocol. The deeper she went into the ship, the more the structure changed. Smooth metal gave way to strange, chitinous surfaces, as if the very walls were growing, alive. Her motion tracker chirped softly. Something moved ahead. She froze, breath caught in her throat. The blip disappeared. She moved forward, boots silent on the damp floor. The power was low, but some systems still responded. Doors hissed open with reluctance. Panels sparked. Screens flickered. She passed crew quarters torn apart. Beds shredded. Blood long dried into black smears on the walls. But no bodies. The lab was worse. The glass tanks were cracked, their contents spilled. Facehugger remains littered the floor, their legs curled inward in death. But not all were dead. One tank held a living specimen barely. It twitched as Mara approached, its tail flicking weakly. Her stomach turned. This wasn't science. This was breeding. They hadn't just found an egg. They had brought it aboard, multiplied it, studied it, tried to control it, and it had turned on them. In the far corner of the lab, she found his badge, Jonas Voss. It lay on the floor, slick with something that looked like mucus. No body, just the badge. Suddenly, the tracker screamed. Movement, fast, too fast. She spun, rifle up, but saw nothing. The silence returned, pressing in like a weight. She backed out, heart hammering. Down the next corridor, she found the walls pulsing. Not metaphorically, actually pulsing. Something had overtaken the ship's architecture, growing into it, fusing with it. She recognized the same grotesque aesthetic from the reports on the derelict alien craft recovered on LV-426. Curved walls, ribbed surfaces, like the inside of a giant beast. She had seen enough to know what was next. Eggs. Rows of them clustered in what had once been the cargo bay. Tall, leathery, motionless. For a moment, one of them opened, silently, like a flower blooming in reverse. She backed away, fast. Then it dropped from the ceiling. The xenomorph was enormous, sleek, black, and glistening with slime. It landed silently, except for the sound of its tail scraping the floor. Its eyeless head turned toward her. It sniffed the air. Then it charged. Mara opened fire, spraying rounds. Acid blood hissed as it spattered on the walls. The beast screamed, no, not screamed, hissed like a giant, angry serpent and fled. She chased it, past the eggs, deeper into the living ship. This wasn't about rescue anymore. It was about stopping what the company had started. She reached the mainframe room, slammed the door shut, and began the override sequence. She had rigged explosives on the outer hull before entering. All she needed was the signal to trigger them. The screen blinked to life. The security feed came online, and she saw him, Jonas. He was alive, or something like it. He stood in a chamber covered in alien growth, naked but unbound. And he wasn't alone. Around him, other crew members knelt. Their eyes were blank. their skin pale. Something was growing inside them, and in the center of the room, a massive figure loomed. The queen, twice as tall as a man, her massive crest shone like obsidian. She turned her head, slowly, and fixed her gaze on the camera, as if she knew, as if she saw her. Then Jonas looked directly into the feed. "Mara," he said. She stepped back from the screen in horror. He shouldn't have known she was there. He shouldn't have been alive. "Mara," he repeated, now through the intercom, his voice echoing through the ship. "You don't understand. This isn't death. It's evolution." She began the detonation sequence. "You'll kill me," he said. "You're already dead," she whispered. The override locked in. 10-minute countdown. No stopping it now. Then the door burst open. The xenomorph tackled her, claws slicing through her armor. She screamed, struggling. The rifle ripped from her hands. Its inner jaw snapped at her face but missed. She grabbed a pipe, drove it into its side. It howled and threw her across the room. The queen was coming. She could feel it, hear the heavy thump of her footsteps. She crawled toward the manual override, hand trembling. The xenomorph pounced again, pinning her down. She reached for her sidearm, pressed it to its throat, and fired. Acid splashed across her arm. She screamed again, flesh burning, but the beast fell back, dead. She stumbled to her feet, dragging her ruined arm. No time. The countdown was at 5 minutes. She limped toward the queen's chamber. She had to see him one last time. Jonas stood before the queen, his chest bare, his stomach visibly bulging. She had used him, used all of them as hosts, but they weren't resisting. They had become acolytes. "Why didn't you fight?" Mara asked. He smiled, a broken, empty thing. "Because we've seen what's coming," he said. "We are the future. The end is breeding. The end is rebirth." She raised her gun. "I'm sorry," she said. He didn't flinch. She pulled the trigger. The queen screamed, leaping forward, but it was too late. The shot struck Jonas in the head. He dropped, lifeless. The others wailed, their connection severed. The queen roared in rage and pain. Mara turned and ran. She reached the escape pod bay with seconds to spare. The pod launched, throwing her back into the seat as the Osiris detonated behind her. Fire bloomed in space. The queen's scream echoed in her ears even as the vacuum consumed it. She drifted in silence, the stars cold and unfeeling around her. But the silence didn't last. A movement, a sound. She turned, slowly. Behind her, something moved in the shadows of the pod. And she remembered. She had been down in the egg chamber. She had been too close. And one of them had opened.